Hi muckers and welcome back to my YouTube channel. I hope you're all having the best day ever. Thank you so much for clicking on my video today. I really appreciate you being here and choosing to spend even a little portion of your day with me. Before we get into anything, I do just want to remind you that I'm currently doing a giveaway for my second channel. So if you click the link at the pinned comment or the description, that is my second channel. If you subscribe and then comment and say something and say that you subscribed as well, you will be entered to win. I don't know where I put them, but I'm going to be giving away... I was going to give away two, but I'm going to give a couple of the signed art cards away, and I was only going to give away, I think, like $100 on PayPal, but I'm now going to give away $300 on PayPal, 100 to 3 different people, just to celebrate the launch of the second channel and to remind people that it's there. So, my muckers, you know what to do. So, there's that. Also, I'm going to ignore the fact that the past hour happened because I just filmed this video, and here's what the footage came out like, okay? Yeah. You may be like, there's no sound, and why are you moving like that, Adam? Did you take another one of those brownies? Yes, for this video, but not for this one, just because I need it for this one. But it filmed in, ultra slow mode, so I'm so happy about that, actually. But anyway, I'm excited to be here, and I'm excited to go through the video, no matter if this is the second time. So, to celebrate, we are finally finished the Shane Dawson series with Jeffree Star. So this is the first one. Again, we're going to get to the conspiracy one in a bit. But in between, by the way, do you want me to do the Bobby Burns series, which was the hater turned fan, or the Jake Paul series? Let me know which one you think we should do next. So this is the final episode of the first Jeffree series. And there's so much that happens in it, and we're just going to get to it. Again, I'm not going to give context for any of the other episodes. You can go watch them. There's a playlist on my channel if you so desire, or you can just kick it with this one. So it's called The Truth About Jeffree Star. So we're ending this the same way we started. And this started with the Tana series, which is these lazy-ass titles, which is the about Jeffree Star. It's like the as in something of Jeffree Star. I know it sounds like I'm like a cat with a hairball there, but like the about Jeffree Star. It's like a that's like a really weird way of describing it. And it could have been the blank of Jeffree Star, but for some reason I'm like the of Jeffree Star. The because I always go for something. Getting very weird. So yeah, the blank about Jeffree Star. So this one's The Truth About Jeffree Star. So the previous fucking 5 apparently haven't been. So my top comment is, finally, the last episode. This could have been one 45-minute long video, by the way, which I think is very true, and there was just so much pointless shit to put in this. If you're gonna call it a documentary, like, there's no point including all, like, this, like, day-to-day, like, la 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 la, like, stuff that would literally just be in, like, Ryland's vlog, you know what I mean? So Shane opens the video by saying that this video series has been the most life-changing thing that has ever happened to him. And, of course, he starts crying. And not crying, but Shane Dawson crying, which is fake crying. And the reason I know it's fake crying, one of two reasons. Number one, he has no emotion in his face. It's almost like he's filled with Botox, which I know he isn't. And even if he is, slay. I'm not opposed to a little bit of filler. If you know, you know. But anyway, his face doesn't move, his eyes aren't watering, and it's only his mouth and voice that are going, like, Jeffree, what the fuck? Like, that's his version of crying, and it's just so fucking weird. But anyway, another reason I know that this is fake crying is because seconds later, we transition into a Better Health ad, which is literally like therapy or something. So he literally segues from, and if you're crying too. So again, it was just a setup. So again, the most life-changing thing in his life, he's crying over, which is this series. Oof, what a life. So Shane, Jeffree, Garrett, Ryland, Andrew are in the car and they're driving to Jeffree's old neighborhood. So this is how the video starts. Jeffree starts getting nervous as they pull up to the old apartment that he used to live at, and Shane asks if the video is getting too much, like, let him know, and they can not, and they can stop. Jeffree says that it's not weird, and it's not fine, and it's not, you know, or sorry, it's not fine, it's just overwhelming for him. He says that the apartment, you know, gave him so much greatness, but it also gave him so much depression and so much sadness. So one thing that is pretty cool is that videos of Jeffree walking through the streets of the neighborhood play from the MySpace days while Shane, Jeffree, and the gang, the gang, are walking through. So, like, Shane and Jeffree and Garrett, it's always them three and the others are just behind. They will be, the others is literally just Ryland. Literally, because Andrew's recording. But yeah, you only see them three together, and then, like, Ryland's in the background. I'm not even trying to be shady. I'm not trying to be shady. So then, them three will be walking, and, you know, Ryland will be tottering along behind. And then it will cut to a clip of Jeffree on MySpace walking in that same thing, and I thought it was a nice touch. I actually did really like that. But let me tell you, Shane is going to use the editing trick of cutting back and forth in clips and timelines, because he does it like 3 times prominently in the video, and it just gets a bit much by the end. So then they go to the apartment, and the current tenant opens the door and speaks with Shane's producer. Shane's producer randomly appears. This woman is like, "Hi, I'm the producer." And I'm like, you have a producer? Like, Shane has a producer for this shit? Like, you have a producer and you're, like, producing this? No tea, no shade, but, like, okay, like, let's, baby girl, like, the lowest is what? Like, okay, like, he may be paying you good and I love that, but, like, let's use that, like, producing degree for something a little bit better than this. No shade, because I was in the same boat, taking up really shitty jobs as well. Except I probably wasn't getting paid what you were getting paid with Shane whenever I was in my film degree. So yes, which surprised me that he had a producer. So then the landlord of the property arrives and immediately gets so excited to see Jeffree, and they start reminiscing. So I wonder if Jeffree paid her a lot of money for them to, you know, go to this visit, or that the landlord just knows that Jeffree's, like, successful, or that the landlord just liked him and was willing to, you know, go to the tenant. And how I imagine, because the tenant had to, like, leave the property and allow them into film, which, by the way, if my landlord ever was like, there's, like, an ex-MySpace person who wants to come in and view your apartment tomorrow and, like, go around and film in it, I'd be like, oh my god. Like, I was surprised that it was allowed to happen, but I guess the landlord could have phrased it in the same way, because they can get access, you know, at any time if they ask in advance. Probably the same way, like a 6-month visit, which was like, hey, I'm gonna be in on this date, let me in. Like, boom, 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 let me in. But only it wasn't a 6-month visit, it was Jeffree Star coming in to film with Shane Dawson. I don't know which is worse or more nerve-wracking. So the apartment Jeffree was talking down upon, by the way, so this was... Oh my god, let me try to explain this. So, this entire series so far, they've been talking about Jeffree's, like, humble beginnings. So you would think, whenever Shane's talking about bringing Jeffree back to that humble beginning, where he's struggling, no money, living in a room and struggling, it's just him and the dogs, you would think that Shane would be a good person, use that little producer, and go back to, you know, the humble beginnings. You wouldn't think that when they show the apartment that they've been building up as a very, like... I need my lip gloss. Sorry, I filmed this video twice, and my lips are dry now, and I really, really, really would love to put stuff on them. But what I'm saying is, you would think that when they walked into this motherfucking apartment, that there would be nothing, and it would be nothing. Like, there's no other way to put it from the way that this entire series has been building it up. But let me tell you something, they've done a bad job, and they went to the apartment that he was at when he was on MySpace. It's like fucking bigger than my apartment. It's like... and this is where they're trying to be like humble beginnings. Jeffree did have humble beginnings, but Shane did a bad job at fucking showing it. So they go to this really big, like, studio apartment. I'm talking huge living room, huge kitchen, big stairway, a 2nd floor, 2 bedrooms, like, the big space, right? So they've done a bad job, as in Shane and the producer, of, sorry, no shade to this producer, but I'm like, you produced that. Like, girl. You know what I mean? So, it just didn't add up with the story, and it kind of lost me. Like, I don't like when people, you know, act like the most humble people ever when they're not. And I do believe that at a certain stage, sorry, this is so... I do believe that at a certain stage, Jeffree Star was very humble. But Shane has done a bad job showing it. So let's continue with the notes. So again, I talk about how big the apartment is, and I say though, so this is another example of Shane cutting between clips. It is a good use of it whenever he will go to, like, the kitchen with Jeffree, and then it will cut to a video that Jeffree filmed from the MySpace days in the kitchen. Or Jeffree's sitting in the bed, and then it will be Jeffree in the bed, you know, with, like, the pink hair in the MySpace video. I did like that touch. Again, he goes to use it a bit too much whenever he starts cutting then between Jeffree's the pink mansion, he then starts cutting between Jeffree walking around this apartment with the pink mansion showing, like, I guess, like, how far he's grown. But you're doing that with an apartment that's really luxurious, and then, a mansion, and you've lost me with the humble beginnings story, and I don't know why anyone ate this up, because you chose the wrong apartment to do this in, because I'm sure if 20 million people watch this, millions of them live in a smaller place than this apartment that you're talking down upon. But Jeffree does call him out for this anyway. So, Shane and Jeffree sit on Jeffree's old bed and start talking. Shane confronts Jeffree on how this apartment actually is very nice. So it was the era before this that was the humble beginnings. And Jeffree says that yes, this apartment was a nice apartment, but this was the era that he struggled the most mentally because he was struggling a lot financially. He says this apartment was paid with MySpace money, but that quickly went away, like we discussed a few episodes ago. If you're watching all these, you'll know why we talked about that, I think like the second one or something like this. So then Jeffree says that living in this apartment was worse than, like, crashing on a friend's sofa, like a couch. Like, crashing on someone's, apartment. Because he was actively losing so much money while being in debt by just living in the apartment. So it was like an endless loop. Now, one thing that was always surprising to me was when I would hear people saying that they would live, like, like celebrities. Whenever I was growing up and I was in my humble beginning stage, because they all have one. Oh my god. They would be living in this mansion, but they'd be in debt because they couldn't afford it anymore and they didn't know what to do. And I was so ignorant that I had been brought up by my parents that they've taught me that at this specific stage in my life, there's not many things that I am financially responsible for other than my rent, which I can't afford, thankfully. So they've told me that until I need it, do not rely on a credit card. Have a debit card. I've never had a credit card in my life. Most of my friends my age, if not all, have never seen a credit card other than possibly their parents. We all have debit cards. Debit cards are like a big thing over here, and I know credit cards are a big thing in America. So it was always surprising to me whenever I would hear these celebrities be like, oh my god, like I was going more in debt by living in this amazing mansion. And I'm like, how are you affording that? Like your debit card doesn't have the money. Then I learned about credit cards. And so this just tangent was inspired by Jeffree saying like he was going more and more in debt by living here. And it just is like how bad the education system is, especially over in the UK where, first of all, I don't know how to do my taxes, which is why I have an accountant who does it. Don't worry, I'm doing everything correctly. I didn't know anything about rent. I don't know how to run a property. I didn't know whenever I had my house, like all that, working out that stuff. I also don't know the difference between a credit and debit card. I do now, but I had to do my own research. And it's like, I just was always so confused when these people would be like, I was living in this luxurious mansion, living the best life, but I was going more and more in debt. And I'm like, how does that work? Let me tell you something. It doesn't for long. So, yes. So, Shane begins talking about how a lot of people say that both him and Jeffree have bad things happening to them a lot because of their karma for the things that they've done. I'm sorry, it's just something they actually said. And then transitions into asking Jeffree why people think that he's racist. So, now we're hitting the big topics. So, then Jeffree says that there is a video that he wants to talk about, and before that, Shane cuts to a series of video clips from the news outlets, from drama channels, from ex-fans of Jeffree Star, saying that they're no longer going to be supporting Jeffree Star, just calling him racist, exposing different things. So then Jeffree talks. He says that an old video on the internet featured a creator who basically did a bunch of characters and a bunch of skits, and one of the main ones he did was living up to trying to be the racist person's fantasy comedy, which is portraying every single stereotype in any way about any different culture, any group of people, and that this content creator would do that a lot. He says that he and this content creator did a skit together where they pretended to be on the phone and they were doing their impressions of black women, and it's just really bad. And then Jeffree says that he would, in this skit, that he would throw battery acid over an African-American woman to lighten her up. So he then says, explaining it, that actually it wasn't racist because I was just saying it in a skit. I'll let you have your opinions of that, because clearly I have mine. And then he talks about that there's another video 13 years ago where he and the same creator are walking the streets and are getting homophobic slurs hurled at them, and in return he's shouting racist slurs, and then Shane plays clips of Jeffree shouting the N-word. It's another thing that happens. So then Jeffree says what he says was racist, but he was never saying it to a black person. So his excuse is, I was always being racist, like saying racist things to white people that were, people say racistly to black people. But I was saying it to white people, so it's not racist. I'll let you have your opinions, and I'll have mine. Just really weird, and I can't believe Shane allowed that to be something that would justify it, and that the audience would eat it up. So then Shane plays videos of Jeffree running through the streets, literally threatening to, like, off people, while he lights up a taser and again is shouting racial and other slurs. So then Shane says that he's done the same, actually, and he, plays clips of his character, Shanae, which just came across really weird that he's like, oh my god, I've been called racist too, I've done racist things, I've said the N-word too, like, it really didn't hit the mark, and it was really weird that he was literally just like, oh my god, we're both racist, buddies. I was like, watching it, like, he didn't say it in that context of like, whatever, but I'm like, his response to Jeffree saying about how racist he is was being like, oh my god, I've done the same things! What are the chances that we would be best friends? And I can't imagine what we say when the cameras aren't rolling. To both of you. Alright. So then Jeffree says that he would fight with everyone on the internet, but people would like to say that he only fights with black women on the internet, which he says isn't true. He does fight with everyone on the internet, but he does have his favorites that he acts in a more harsher way too. I'll say that. So then Jeffree is asked by Shane, is that it? Is that all the racism? Like, is there anything else people don't like you for? And it's really weird. It just comes across as Shane being like, oh, people don't like you for that? What? Anything else? Like, come on, let's get to the bottom of why people don't actually like you. Again, hit the mark. Awfully. Mark? Bad job, Shane. Alright. So then we go on, and Shane says that how he watches drama videos on Jeffree, but he sees right through them because when they're calling out or exposing Jeffree, he just sees that Jeffree is hiding behind pain, and that when Jeffree is exposing his ex-friends or being aggressive or saying problematic things, he sees the real Jeffree behind it. Very weird thing to say about someone that you don't know, but okay. So then, speaking on ex-friends, Jeffree says, all I ever did was love these people and lift them up, yet all I am is the bad guy, yet again. And then Shane overlays clips of Jeffree with the infamous ex-friends hugging and being friendly, Jeffree, having them on his private jet, basically showing Jeffree in the best light. And it's like, I can't imagine how much hate this series unnecessarily probably gave to, like, Manny and Laura and all these different people, because Shane is now setting this up that, Jeffree is not wrong in any way, and that the friends did him wrong. And Shane continuously says, those people who did you wrong. And it's like, I can only imagine how much hate they got from this. And it's like, yeah, I'm sure Shane saying this is the most, biased ever. So while Shane is listening to Jeffree doing this speech, Shane includes clips of Jeffree's tweets on the screen, which one reads, there's no loyalty in LA. Ironic. Jeffree also says that he could never trust another person because of the way all of his ex-friends have used him, so very much so that he is the victim. It's important to note, again, that this episode was set up to humanize Jeffree for the audience to love and baby him the same way they do with Shane, so that their audience would be on one page, which they very much so weren't before this video. Two very different sides of the internet. So then Jeffree discusses how he got all of his tattoos to hide all of his, and here's a trigger warning, SH that was on his arms, and how he would wear long sleeves all year round to cover it up, and that he pulled up his sleeves at that moment to show Shane, and Shane starts fake crying here, the same thing, Jeffree, and I'm like, Jeffree's being very vulnerable here and being very brave opening up about this, and when anyone is speaking about their struggles, I'm all ears regardless of who it is. So for Shane to fake cry and take all the attention away from Jeffree in this moment is just so distasteful, and he should have just sat his ass in silence. Like, Jeffree's actually saying something finally we should be listening to, and you're fake crying over the top of him. Jeffree says that he's been clean for 10 years, but this was his secret, but one day his mother saw, and his mother didn't get it and thought that, she was losing her son in a way. Jeffree then pulls down his trousers to show that his thighs and legs are the same, and when he's doing swatches on his Snapchat story for his makeup, he will always wear bracelets and long sleeves because he doesn't want people to use it against him and bully him for it. And it's like, hearing all of this again, it doesn't matter who it is, like, it's heartbreaking to hear, and he's incredibly brave for speaking about this on the internet. I just wish Shane's approach with this would have been so much better, but again, he missed the mark. So then Jeffree says that this is a wake-up call about being more authentic. And Shane says how incredible it is where Jeffree is at now. And Shane says he wants people to see this side of Jeffree. I'm sure he did, so then people would, be able to buy his makeup. So when Shane did the palette, we've been through it. So then they start discussing the ex-friends again. Like, they just bring the ex-friends up so much that it's like, you are clearly guilty to bring them up this much. Like, you're trying so hard to keep reminding people that the ex-friends did Jeffree bad, so that when that comes up again, that people will have an idea that, hate Manny, love Jeffree, or something like that. It's so weird. Oh my god. It's like they're trying to get the audience to hate the people Jeffree isn't friends with anymore so that Shane and Jeffree would have the most power. Shane says how he shouldn't not trust people because of all of those bad people in bad situations. Again, how unbiased of him. So the video ends with the clip of Shane from episode 1 where he's in the car saying that he's scared of the idea of Jeffree and that he wants to get to the bottom of it to see if Jeffree really is the monster that everyone makes him out to be. So obviously the end of the series is, oh my god, he's not the monster, because it ends with a clip of Jeffree and Shane smiling and laughing, and then it ends with, oh my god, Jeffree, we love him now, he's not a monster. Ta-da! Buy our palette, out in 6 months, ready for Christmas time. La la la. Oy. Thank God that series is over. At least the conspiracy one is more, like, nitty-gritty and, like, is really, like, you can expose them for a lot. And that this one is just, like, so much of it was just long. Muckers, let me know your opinion of this. We can talk below. I love you. Thank you for watching. Let me know again if you want me to do the Bobby Burns or the Jake Paul next. And I will see you in my next one. And bye. Mwah.